Her name is Feminista Jones. You saw her a minute ago. Let me explain a little bit about her journey. She's a mental health social worker and a sex-positive Black feminist woman from New York City. She is an award-winning writer and blogger who focuses on health and well-being, specifically in the areas of mental health, sexual health, and physical health. She is currently the Love and Sex section editor at blogher.com. She also co-hosts a podcast called This Week in Blackness After Dark, which discusses topics related to sex and sexuality from a sex-positive approach. Feminista has been featured in online publication as a contributor to Salon.com and columnist at Ebony.com. And she's been syndicated in TheRoot.com and TheGrio.com. At Feminista Jones, if you are tweeting, please put your hands together for the great Feminista Jones.
Set up here. This is awesome. So first, while she's doing this, I just want to thank HOLLA back and specifically Emily for inviting me to come out today. I am honored to be here. Oh yes, here we go. I think the work that is being done here and around the globe is amazing. So we have to just kind of just not clap every single time, but just take a moment to really think about how powerful HOLLA back is. Okay, so today, they only gave me 10 minutes. Okay, so I'm going to talk about street harassment and mainly the experiences of Black women. And the reason why I wanted to focus on that is because oftentimes Black women experience street harassment in different ways from other women, and sometimes it tends to be harsher and more violent. And a lot of that has to do with what we call misogynoir. It's a specific form of misogyny that is directed at Black women because of society's lack of value for who we are as human beings. I also noticed that, and I've been doing some of this work and talking about it and writing about it for a few years now, and what I noticed was that a lot of times in the mainstream, the image of the victim of street harassment was almost always a white woman. Now, HOLLA back does work all around the globe, and you look everywhere in South Africa, in India, all around the world, there are women of color who have been fighting back against street harassment. But here in America, we don't get to hear those stories as much. So definitely look into HOLLA back's resources about that. The problem that we have here in America is, like, as Emily alluded to, is that we like to paint street harassment as being something that delicate white women experience at the hands of predator men of color. And I just did not think that was fair on two levels. One, there's other women that are experiencing this, and then girls as well. And then two, it's not fair to just paint all men of color as these menacing predators. So I wanted to do work that would center Black women's experiences and kind of give us a voice in a different way. Let's see what we got here. How do I do this? I don't know. I don't do what you should do. Oh, that's okay. Oh, that'll do it. Okay. So, she mentioned You OK Sis. That is a hashtag. It's called You OK Sis. You can look it up on Twitter, and you'll see tweets that are related to it. How did You OK Sis come to be? Okay, the first time I was street harassed, I was 11 years old, right? How many of you were under age 13 when it first happened to you? If you look around, you see what this is about, right? It was about predators targeting young people, mostly girls, right? I was 11 when I first experienced it. And I remember feeling confused. I had no idea why this man who was old enough to be my grandfather was talking to me in such a sexual way. Like, couldn't he see that I was only 11 years old? Now, mind you, at 11, I was about 5'11", right? So from a distance, I may look like a full-grown woman, but when I turn around, you see my face, you see an 11-year-old. And in a lot of my discussions about this, I realized that that's what a lot of these men like, particularly with Black girls. They like Black girls ages 10 to 13, which to me reveals a bit of a sickness, right? A bit of a confusion and a contortion somewhere. We have to dig deeper. We're not going to do that today, but this is so prevalent that it's something that we need to consider. So over the years, like, I'm experiencing this and I'm internalizing it, as many of us do. And as I've gotten older, I started realizing that I had a lower and lower tolerance for it. I just couldn't take it anymore. And I got on social media, and part of what I do with my social media platform is I kind of share stories and share my experiences and those of others. So I decided that I was going to start tweeting about my street harassment experiences, like almost live in the moment, for two reasons. One, it would give me something to do. right? While I'm in the moment, I can distract, I can pretend that I don't hear you, I don't see you, because a lot of us wear headphones and we do things like that to kind of, shrink away. And the other part would be to kind of just release it, because I was holding it in and it was really leading to a lot of anxiety for me. So one day I had an experience in Harlem where I was witnessing someone else going through it. It was a young woman, she was pushing a baby carriage, she couldn't be any more than about 22 years old. And I noticed that the man wouldn't leave her alone. He started talking about selling music, but then it became personal. Where are you going? What's your name? And he grabbed her arm and all these things. And she's telling him she's not interested. She wants to just go. And he wouldn't let her go. So I went up to her and I said, "Are you okay, sis?" And I said sis because she's black and that's how I talk to black women. I call them sister. And she smiled and she said, "Yeah, I'm okay." She seemed really polite. And I went on about my business. She said she was fine. Okay. But he got upset. And he decided he wanted to confront me about it. And so we got into a little argument because I'm an adult and I'm a mother. You don't talk to me like that. So we had a little thing. But she was able to get away, right? Which was the whole point. Her and her baby were able to go on about their way. And they no longer had anything to do with that. So I tweeted about it. And a sister who goes by Black Girl Danger, she responded, because I said, can we just make this a thing where when we see it happen, can we say something? Like, can we just maybe ask if people are okay? Can we just be in that moment and not ignore it? And because we see it all the time, we just ignore it. And she said, yeah, can we make "You okay, sis" a thing? And she hashtagged it. And I was like, yes, let's do this summer. This was last summer. And that's how it came to be. And a brother that was following me is a reporter for News One. He said, I want to write about this. I want to explore what happens with black women in street harassment. And that's how that came to be. Okay, so what we decided, we were going to use this hashtag as a gathering space, for women to come and talk about their experiences with street harassment. Okay? Why? Why do we do that? Most vulnerable to street harassment: black women, women of color, trans black women, trans women of color. Poor women of color in urban areas. Young black girls. Underage black and Latino girls. My opinion, black women are more vulnerable to street harassment. We're the least protected anyway. That was answering a question in the chat that we had about why this, right? Of course, there was pushback. They didn't like that we were doing this. There are some men out there who were just like, what is going on here? The purpose of the black feminist movement to end so-called street harassment is to give cops a new excuse to stop and frisk black men in the streets. Yeah. This is what they said that we were doing, because we wanted to create a safe space for people to talk about their experiences with street harassment. Okay? The sister said, you don't feel safe going anywhere. I have younger siblings, and think about what they have to go through when they go to school. It's kind of frightening, right? So we're thinking, what are some ways that you can help, right? You see somebody is in a situation, you don't want to exacerbate it, because we've read about people going in and wanting to be all macho and confronting the harasser, and they end up getting their asses beat within the pulp of their life. Like, it's just bad. You don't want to do that. We're not telling people to confront the harasser. But you can say something so simple as, excuse me, do you have the time? Because what that does is it puts you right in that moment, and you're there, and it disrupts whatever is happening there. And it gives the person experiencing the street harassment a way out. Okay? You could say, where's the nearest Starbucks? I just want to get a latte. Something that's not triggering, and it's not giving off any indication that you're trying to intervene and kind of, make things worse. And what happened was people started doing it, and they were reporting back on the hashtag that it was very helpful. Okay? So street harassment is just part of the continuum. It's a whole thing. Emily spoke about this. Oh, I'm sorry. I meant to turn that off, and they said to turn it off. Well, that's I'm the first one up. I do that. Okay. So Emily was talking about that. We're looking at street harassment. We're looking at domestic violence. We're looking at, intimate partner violence. Did you know that black girls are 80% more likely to be hit, slapped, or abused on purpose by a boyfriend than white girls? These are teens. Okay? Do you know that black women are 3 times more likely to die from domestic violence than white women? There's something very specific about the treatment of black women when it comes to these types of harassment and assault and violence that we need to confront and we need to talk about. And that's what I want to do. So one of the things that came out, they were saying, this is Trudy, she said, I'm interested in anti-street harassment education programs in school. I never had any of this, and I was harassed since age 12. And so we're talking about developing programming that can go into schools, high schools, middle schools. Like I want to reach 10-year-olds, right? That 10-year-old, that 11-year-old girl, that was me. I talked to a group in Newark, and I'm hearing these stories of these 14-year-old girls talking about a guy grabbed me and he wouldn't let me go and my friends were scared. And here I am, you know, over 20 years older than them and feeling like, why is this still happening? So that's the next step, and what I'd like to do with UK Sis, I'd like to turn it into a grassroots organization that develops curricula and goes into schools and talks to young people about street harassment, particularly in areas that are underserved, like the Bronx. A lot of people don't like to come up to the Bronx. I live and work in the Bronx. I want to take it up to the Bronx. I want to work with young Black and Latina girls and boys and everybody in between and outside of that, and talk to them about the importance of recognizing what positive interactions are, how to reject negative interactions, how to feel empowered in dealing with these kinds of things, and to not be afraid to speak up for themselves. I want to help people learn new ways of dealing with society, because a lot of times the guys are saying, well, this is what it means to be a guy. I have to do this if I want to prove I'm not gay, because gay is still bad to some people, right? So what I want to do is I want to take this and I want to go into schools, and I'm hoping to be able to interact with some of you. I've done a few so far and it's been really helpful, and so we're really going to try to help and do more representation, particularly for Black and Latina girls here in New York City, to help them deal with street harassment. Thank you.